What's going on, guys? It's Arrow. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to talk about Scalpel. Scalpel is an all-in-one app that solves all of the problems that you have in Path of Exile, both 1 and 2. If you watch my previous video on Scalpel where I interviewed the creator of Scalpel, Fred, you got to see all of the cool things that Scalpel was capable of in PoE1. Scalpel allows you to edit your filter on the fly. It allows you to create regexes in-game, hotkeys, macros, a built-in price checker, a quick way to see how to recolor an item, including the jeweler method, and lots more. Well, that was a couple of months ago, and since then, Fred has taken the app and updated it so it is fully functional in PoE2. There are less features in the PoE2 version simply because there's less stuff that you need to do in-game. Something like recoloring items doesn't really exist, but I actually think Path of Exile 2 needs Scalpel more than ever. Changing your loot filter on the fly in Path of Exile 1 is really nice, but in Path of Exile 2, it feels almost mandatory. Economies are constantly changing. The items that you want or don't want to see are also constantly changing as the meta changes and economies shift. I highly recommend that you check out this interview that I did today with Fred, where we talk about how Scalpel has changed for Path of Exile 2. You don't need another app if you're already using Scalpel. The app will recognize when you start PoE2, and it'll simply ask you to restart. I cannot speak highly enough about this app, and it has replaced all of the other tools that I currently use. So once again, thank you to Fred. Thank you for the folks over at PoE2.re that helped out with the regex side of things, and everyone else who's been involved in this project. Oh, and it's open source, and it has been for a few months, so you no longer have to worry about the app stealing your data or anything like that. So let's dive into the conversation with Fred. Fred, thank you for coming on. Let's show everybody what Scalpel can do. All right, well, welcome back. I am Arrow, and this is Fred. We're going to be talking Scalpel again. If you did not watch the first video, please make sure that you check that one out. But this should cover everything that you need for PoE2. So welcome, Fred. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
So today we're going to talk about Scalpel, which is the app that you've created to solve a number of problems, seemingly all of the problems that we have in Path of Exile. We made a video about PoE1 a few months ago, and now the app has been fully ported over to Path of Exile 2. So the first issue that we ran into with the PoE1 version is folks wanted open source. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so when we talked through Scalpel the first time, I was pretty early on in development and was able to pretty rapidly get something out to market that felt really good to use, and I was excited to share it. And it was before I really considered the sourcing of it, and I totally understand everybody's hesitation to want to download an exe that is compiled with closed source, especially when Windows and antiviruses are flagging everything left and right as they should be. So I did my research. I'd never launched anything open source before, and right after the video, hearing everybody's comments, it was my highest priority. Uh, Released it a couple days later to on GitHub, and it's there now, and it's been a great experience. Got so much nice feedback from people, new ways to get issues logged and fixed rapidly. Have three contributors besides myself to the project already. It's been a great experience. None of the things I was scared of came true. So,
Oh, that is very good news. And now the value of open source to the average person is that someone else can verify that your app is safe. And there was obviously a lot of concern about that. For me, Fred is a close friend of mine. I was like, you guys got to try his app. It's awesome. I know him. I know he would never do something nefarious, but we're strangers to most of the internet. So the issues were noted and fair. So now we've ported it over to
sure.
Path of Exile 2. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I tried to expose as much of the important stuff in files that are pretty easily accessible. If anybody is interested in going in and seeing how it works, I invite you to. Because there's so many features, there's an awful lot to dig into. So I took the stuff like all the endpoints that it hits and consolidated them into one file that's pretty early in the project. So you can go in there and see all the places that it hits and all the stuff that it does with your data. It doesn't go anywhere besides into the project itself, and the routes that it hits are things that you'd expect, like PoE Ninja and GGG's auth, etc.
Cool. So now it's ready for Path of Exile 2. We've been beta testing it behind the scenes to get it ready. Can you talk about the swap over to PoE2?
So my goal was, rather than, and no shade at these projects, absolutely love Awaken, PoE trade, and Exiled Exchange 2. Kvan has been helping me. He's the Exiled Exchange dev with Scalpel, so that's awesome. But one of the things I wanted to focus on was having one project that worked for both, so that you didn't need to have two separate installs that would, diverge in quality at some point. So Scalpel one exe file works for both games, and that was kind of my highest priority. Now, speaking just in terms of pure features, there's frankly less that an overlay tool needs to do in PoE2 currently, just because there is less to do in PoE2. At least that was true of point 4. It does look like in point 5 there's an awful lot more to do in the end game, so I'm excited to add tools that line up with PoE2. But it was pretty straightforward to get it, ported over. It really wasn't porting at all. It was just a matter of uh, finding all the little wrinkles that exist in PoE2 itemization. And again, Kvan from Exiled Exchange 2 helped me with some of that stuff, and getting everything working, like the different regexes, etc.
Awesome. So do you want to jump in game and kind of show this thing off?
Yeah. So let's start by hopping into PoE1, just so that we can highlight kind of the biggest feature add in PoE1 since then. And again, if you go into the original video that we did, you'll see, besides open source and PoE2, when the biggest request was you need to add regex. So let's take a look at the regex feature. All right. So we'll just go over kind of a brief explanation of the regex feature. So um, for those of you who use PoE.re currently, this feature is actually entirely powered by them. So big thanks to VZ, the developer of PoE.re, and all of his contributors, who have invited me into their community to help make it better. We've integrated it directly into here. So it should work exactly as you'd expect it to on the website itself, because all of the keys that make it work are exactly the same, and the way that it generates regex is exactly the same as the website. I won't go over everything here, but what we have in PoE currently is maps, and flasks and custom. So maps is probably the most common way that anybody relies on regex. So you can go in here and set all of the things that you want to avoid, the things that you want on your maps, and your basic qualifiers to get them. But what's really cool is you can go in and save any regex that you create. You can tag it with custom tags. And what's really cool about this is you can tag it with a macro tag. And there's a brief explanation the first time you load it up on how to do that. And then you can go into your hotkeys and set a hotkey for that specific regex that you create later, so that you can, with one tap of your hotkey, load it into your bar so that it flags the maps. So it was a cool feature to work on. Hopefully everybody likes the execution of the way that I've done the macros and the saving, just so that it's not reliant on you creating well-named regexes to remember which one it is. It will go through and populate tags based on what you've added and removed for the regex. So hopefully you guys like it. It should work as you'd expect.
Yeah, excellent. This was definitely probably the number one request after the first video, is people wanting things like regex and custom macros, and now it's seemingly flawlessly in here. So really excited to get to use this in PoE2.
Yeah, and I'll add more things. I know that PoE has a lot more support for regex than the tabs that you see that I've created here. I was just kind of prioritizing the most important ones to get it out the door and to make sure that it worked well in both games.
All right, so this is Path of Exile 1, and obviously we have Scalpel, which is designed to work in both games. So we're gonna basically just show off what the swap looks like.
Yeah, sounds good.
So you close down the game, you open up Path of Exile 2. It's going to open on my other monitor because I have a weird 2-monitor setup that makes me do this every time, and I haven't quite figured out the solution yet.
Yeah, good thing we can edit videos.
No, we're going to leave that one in. They want to see the raw side. So when you hotkey it'll bring up, at least it brings it up on my other monitor. When you hotkey an item in PoE2, it'll give you this little option here. It says switch to Path of Exile 2. Works in both games, but you need to restart. So you just click restart, and then it takes, imagine, only a second or two, and there we go. We are now in the PoE2 version. You can see up here at the top it says beta 0.9.8 PoE2.
Yep. So pretty straightforward. Uh, we'll a couple of my contributors and myself are looking at different ways that we can make it so that you don't even need to do that restart step. Currently, that restart step is in there and it works fine. You don't switch between games constantly. At least I hope so.
Yeah, I switch every 2 months, one time.
Right.
As we saw in the release trailer, it looks like Grinding Your Games is putting a price checker in game. It is not exactly feature rich, and it doesn't look like something that I would want to use right away. So, Fred, why don't you talk to us a little bit about how Scalpel compares to what they've added in game?
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, as a user, best case scenario, eventually GGG makes it so that we don't need any of these fourth party tools in order to play PoE. So, I love that they're adding features like this for everybody. But as it stands right now, I would think that Scalpel's price checker is probably going to be something that's a good bit more powerful than what exists in game or will exist in game. It's the same price checker that we went through in the PoE1 video, except now it's fully enabled for PoE2 and the itemization in PoE2. And there's a whole lot of cool things that I've built into the chips at the top. You won't be able to show this off all on stream. So something that I invite people to go through and price check different items and see the different chips that pop up at the top that enable you to see empty prefixes and different sockets that are empty pre-filling and just making it super easy for you to very quickly check. My goal as a developer is to make it so that you feel like you don't need to change anything when you price check an item, and that the stuff that I pre-fill for you is giving you a realistic expectation for what that item should cost. That's not going to be true of 100% of items. PoE is filled with items that have edge cases. So I give you enough power to change that quickly and find the price that you'd expect because you have more game knowledge than I can algorithmically. But this price checker is really good and it's really smooth and fast. And I really tried to optimize the UI so that you can do things like scroll the ES on an item, for example, quickly with a little scrubber bar that I stole from Figma's UX. So all sorts of stuff like that. But now, if you have an item pulled up that has a ninja price, you can hover over the ninja price at the top, and you can see the value change over time, and all sorts of cool stuff like opening it in the wiki, the PoEDB, and on Ninja itself. Now that they have unique support, it's even more powerful. So all sorts of small things I think add up to a nice feature that is probably a little bit more powerful than what GGG will roll out in point 0.5.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, the end game goal of Grinding Your Games, if this is the case, is to get a fully feature rich price checker in. That would be great news. Then people wouldn't have to download something. But in the meantime, until we get there, I think Scalpel is a far better solution than the very simple price checker that's been added. And it's not just because of the price checker. What makes Scalpel so fun to use and awesome to use is that there's just other stuff in here and you don't need multiple tools. You don't need multiple websites. So why don't you talk to us about the other PoE2 specific features?
Yeah, so really there's two primary other features within I guess that's kind of underselling it a bit. But in the for the tabs that I've enabled at the top right now, there is the filter tool. And that's something that we reviewed for PoE1 in the first video, and that's something that really hasn't changed too much. I've changed around the UI quite a bit to make it a little easier on the eyes and to maybe give it a little more power for things like uniques. But the idea here is generally the same, that you can, based on the current economy, very quickly make changes to your filter, whether that be your online filter or if you're somebody who doesn't use online filters and just uses local filters, make quick changes to it based on things that change. And I would argue that this is something that has, at least historically in the first four leagues, been something that is more important in PoE2 than generally in PoE1. I think we have a pretty good idea of how the economy shuffles out in every single PoE1 league, and the filters that are released by Neversink on Filter Blade tend to be pretty good. Especially his late game filters tend to be pretty good out of the box for most strategies. In PoE2, I would argue that that's almost never true. The economy changes so quickly and with so much volatility that you'll want to make these changes in PoE2, even if you don't want to make them in PoE1.
Yeah, undoubtedly, Path of Exile 2 is a different beast when it comes to the economy. And I'm way more excited to use these economy audit features and just changing my filter on the fly. Because in PoE2, I end up getting stuck just picking up stuff that I don't want because I don't feel like constantly changing my filter. However, with Scalpel's filter changing feature here, this entire tab is just designed to change whatever you hotkey and things that are similar. It's going to be very easy to take things on and off your filter.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have a unique handy that has a base shared with a lot of different uniques?
No, but I can get one.
Okay,
Sure.
so one of the other features that I wanted to highlight in the filter tab is one of the bigger confusions about how filters work is exactly how they target uniques. So nothing in the filter actually targets, say, a specific unique like megalomaniac, right? It's going to be targeting diamonds that there may be level requirements for certain zones, but for most cases, they're going to be targeting diamonds, and it was unclear previously to most people exactly how that was happening. So what I've done is if you were to highlight a diamond or you want to switch tier of a diamond, you can see easily right below the switch tier box all of the uniques that belong to that class or that item type, and you can scroll through them by grabbing it and scrolling to the left and right and seeing all of those. And another thing that you have pulled up here is the items in this tier. You have it uncollapsed currently. So you can also see within this tier of tier two, all of the uniques that go into it. And you can easily click one of those and switch between it. Just some nice UX UI cleanup that I thought made a big difference in terms of the general look of the product.
Yeah, this is significantly easier to use this time around compared to the first video that we made. Tons of good changes in here, and it's just way easier to kind of see what's going on. But as always, if you're using this tool and you have questions about how to use it, hop into my Discord. There is a feedback channel. You can ask questions there. Folks will help. Fred is always around reading stuff, but if he's not there, other people are reading the channel as well.
Yeah, turned into a great little community already. So in the regex tab for PoE2, you can see that we have waystones and custom. Um, it looks like the tablets aren't going anywhere. I'm interested to see some more details on exactly how tablets are going to be used in point 5. That was kind of my hesitation for putting that in immediately, is just wanting to see if anything that I built or anything that VZ and his team at PoE Re have built is gonna make the cut in point 5. But if that stays the same, which it kind of looks like it might, I'll have that in by the time PoE2 launches. That's really no problem at all. Adding these new regex tabs in is pretty trivial once I got the first one in. So I'll take care of that if necessary. But as you can see, waystones and custom works exactly how maps in PoE1 works. So
Yeah, this is fantastic.
but with a 50 character limit. GGG, Greg, if you're watching, please increase that to 250. All right, so I guess next, hop over to settings. I know this is a weird place for us to go next, but I have buried some cool features in settings. Uh, Maybe I'll unbury them at some point, but there's a lot of power that you can enable and customize here. So let me just start by talking through the beta channel. So since our first chat, I have released a beta channel that's distributed through GitHub and I will release frequently through this channel, sometimes daily, oftentimes every couple of days, where I'm releasing features and changes and fixes, whereas the regular stable channel will take a couple of weeks in between releases. So opt into the beta channel if you're brave and a little bit patient, but you will get access to stuff before anybody else. Just hop in the Discord or log your issues in GitHub and I'll get them fixed. Just let me know that you're in the beta channel and what beta version you're using.
Yeah, awesome. I've been using beta because I like to be on the cutting edge of Fred's tool.
Yeah. Okay. Um, uh, so then hop into the view tab. So within the view tab, uh, there's a new option for you to show or hide tabs that you're not interested in. I know that there are certain people that aren't necessarily interested in the filter tab, or maybe you don't really care all that much about regex and you just want to clean up your experience. You can very easily turn tabs on and off, and you can see that it matches live with what you're doing. This will become something that is even more important once we get into plugins and when people create lots of plugins. You might want to enable a plugin that is hotkey enabled, but have it hide. Or in PoE1, for example, there's a whole lot of tabs that you might just want to clean up your experience. So I think that's nice. There's other tools in here for overlay scale and what side you want Scalpel to open on. It's just nice stuff for you to go into. But I do want to highlight the theme because this is something that I worked on pretty recently. I think the themes are really nice, and maybe a few of these are even better than the default theme. I think the PoE2 theme in particular is very nice in PoE2. It really, I think I did a good job matching the general vibe of PoE2 with the browns and golds, and I think that one looks very nice. Or you can click Steam 2003 and feel like you have a total throwback to the first time you played Counter-Strike 1.6. Um, just don't click Flashbang. You'll have a bad time. Whoa. Okay. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
Steam
So
2003
that's
was
themes.
this was horrible. This is what we looked at.
Oh yeah, it's green. It looked like an army barracks.
It looks like somebody ate camouflage and threw it up.
I had fun. I had fun with that. So enjoy the themes. I think charcoal and PoE2 in particular are very good themes. Customize to your heart's content. You can also click that customize drop down and customize any of the themes to uh, however you want Scalpel to look. A piece of feedback I got in the comments of your video was that Scalpel was ugly. So now if it's ugly, it's your fault, not mine.
I actually think Scalpel has a beautiful look to it, but to each their own.
Oh, not all YouTube commenters agree with Arrow.
Well, I mean, that is a truism.
All right, so hopping around in here more, hop over to the macros tab. That's the next tab in line. So the macros tab is a super powerful place. I don't know how well we went over this in the first video, but there's all the things that you would expect for macros, like chat macros. So being able to add a hotkey. Generally, people use their F keys for this to do anything. Whether it's something that you want to just type in chat and not have it submit automatically, or something like hideout or reload item filter, you can just easily bind that to one key. But there's even more cool stuff because I set it up so that any tab that exists in Scalpel and even more features than exist as tabs can be added as Scalpel macros just the same. So if there's something that you do find yourself doing in Scalpel more often than just hotkeying things, or filter hotkeying or price check hotkeying, you can set macros to that specific tab or that specific feature. Um, and then there's stash tab scrolling. I don't know if that's a macro or not, but it fit here more cleanly than anywhere else. I know that's something that was requested multiple times in the video's comments. So that now exists as well. One really cool thing in the Scalpel macros currently that doesn't exist anywhere else is the toggle whiteboard feature. We'll show that off in a sec, but if you're a streamer and you like drawing on screen, you might want to set that to a hotkey. I think that's a really cool tool. Um, so yeah, that's those features. Then let's head over to the Sheets tab. So within Sheets, there are a number of starter packs for each game. So in PoE1, the only starter pack that I currently have, and I will add more for leveling guides, but the only one I have now is League starter packs. So I grabbed some of the best overlay cheat sheets that I could find, credited the source for them, and popped them into a starter pack. They'll download on the fly from GitHub, and when you add it, and then they'll appear as a bar that you can add with those. but it's even cooler in PoE2 because they are set up as act leveling guides. So thanks to Logahall and his team of people that make it possible to have these things. I know that they're changing all of these zones, and I will update these as Alcohol and his team fixes them. But right now, this is a super cool feature. One of the things that you can do when you set up your hotkey, there is a new button that I've added in the top right corner, pin zone map to side. And one of the really cool things that I've added recently is the zone detection. So with these leveling guides, it's not just a matter of hovering over them and making sure that you're on the right one. You can actually see that the zone that you're in is highlighted in the toolbar. But even cooler is there's a feature to pin it to the side. So then when you switch zones, it will automatically change to the zone that is active. Uh, and then you can actually just go in and minimize that toolbar and not even have to worry about it taking up space. So you can have whatever zone you're in track you throughout the campaign.
Is there any way to change the size of this overlay?
Yeah, so you just drag the bottom left corner and it will change the size. Or sorry, bottom right corner. I don't know my left from right. You can drag any corner. You can now
Perfect.
also move it anywhere you want.
Just getting attacked over and over again in this zone while I'm trying to do this. This is really cool, man.
One of the features that I added, just again, a lot of the features here have been inspired by watching streamers, very specifically you, more often than not, and just thinking through the way that the tools that you need in order to do your job. And I was inspired to create a tool that lets you draw on top of your screen. And I'm sure other people besides streamers will find use for this because I think it's so cool. But if you hit your hotkey for drawing on screen, it will pop up a toolbar with all the controls you need to do basically anything on the screen that you'd want to. Again, I won't hide from my inspiration here. It was Figma. I think the Figma tools are excellent, even though Figma's getting their lunch eaten right now by AI tools. They still created something very cool. So you can draw shapes, you can draw text, as you can see that he's doing on screen now. But you can also switch between different pens, the highlighter and the marker and eraser, and change the size of the pens and any color you want, and really highlight anything you want to your audience or leave notes for yourself. You can also Control C an image from your desktop or wherever else onto the screen, and then Control V it onto the screen and paste it. But then you can go in with the cursor selector tool and select all the stuff by dragging and dropping, and rescaling and moving everything around that you'd want to. It it hopefully should work better than Microsoft Paint, which I know that a lot of people use to put stuff on screen while they're talking. But what's even cooler is you're in edit mode right now. If you switch that over to pass through mode by clicking it, you can actually engage with the game in the background while that overlay is up. Again, I don't know why your average person would want this. Hopefully, you guys find some cool value in it because I had a lot of fun building it. But it was a pretty cool thing to do. Then you can go in and save and reload things and change the opacity of the overlay. There's a whole lot of features built into it that I probably shouldn't have spent any time on, but I did because it was fun.
I think one of the cooler features that you can do here is you can actually make it so it looks like your character is on fire and moving really fast. So then you can just run around and look how fast you look.
Yeah, who said that PoE2 had slow movement speed? Just add some fire behind or in front of yourself, and feel that you're moving faster than you really are.
Now, this feature is awesome. I'm going to love this. I know some of my streamer friends are going to love this. But I can only imagine there's going to be stuff that you're going to want, maybe like notes for yourself that you can put on screen. Like, oh, don't forget to do these 3 things. You can put some text on screen over here and then just throw it in pass through mode. There's definitely going to be use cases for this outside of just content creators, but I will be using this feature a lot.
Cool, cool. I look forward to seeing how people use it. All right, and then I guess we're kind of on to our last feature here. So if you go back to settings, I know we teased this already, but hop over to the plugins tab. So I added the ability for other developers not just to participate in the development of Scalpel via it being open source and adding PRs, but actually going in and creating their own plugins. And the reason that I did this is there's going to be things that don't necessarily fit in with the core identity of what Scalpel is, and that would just add bloat to the core feature set, but that would be extremely valuable for most people. There's a couple right off the top of my head, like cluster jewel calculators. I think that those are super valuable for people, but maybe not something that I want in the core feature set. Maybe a wealth management tool. I know that there's a number of tab wealth calculators that people rely on. I didn't want to marry myself to having just one integration with those. So if the people that are involved in those communities want to create plugins for Scalpel that tie with the auth that they have for their calculator or for their wealth management tools, I think that that's a great opportunity there. Maybe something related to the PoE2 build integration that GGG created for us, where there's you know maybe a website that manages builds wants to create a plugin for their build so that people can select them easily and load them into the game and automatically place them into those build folders on the computer without having to rely on people to do it themselves. There's a lot of cool opportunities here. So I built the plugin system. If any developers are interested in participating, there's instructions in the GitHub on how to create plugins. I don't think that this is something that's feature complete yet. So please provide me feedback on other things that you want exposed within the SDK. It's an NPM package SDK that exposes different UI elements and other data that is available within Scalpel for you to put into a tab and use how you'd like. So uh, I look forward to seeing what people build with this and what people like using.
Yeah, I will not be contributing at all to any of that, but I look forward to seeing what people come up with.
All right, that's all.
Uh,
That's all I got. That's all I got for you guys. That's all that. That's all that Scalpel is.
that's all that Scalpel is. All it is an all-in-one tool that does everything that you need. I am very, very excited to use the filter adjustment tab and make changes on the fly and actually be like economically aware in point 0.5. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap it there. This video is probably way longer than we originally intended it to be. So if you stuck around till the end, thank you so much. Fred has a Patreon or a Ko-Fi.
Ko-Fi, yeah, make Fred a millionaire.
Yeah, if you wanna support Fred, you can jump over to the website. It'll be linked in the description. If you want to support me, you can drop me a Twitch Prime over on twitch.tv/AER0__. Fred, thank you so much for coming on and explaining your app.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's really been a delight to develop. So it's been cool to create a tool that I want to use and that other people have expressed that they enjoy using. If you have any issues or want to help expand it, hop on Discord and let's talk. I look forward to making this the best fourth party tool it can be.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you all for watching. And we'll see you in point 0.5 pretty soon.